Hello, this is Bino. Welcome back to my channel. Today what I wanted to do is talk about my approach of digging out a stump. So we had a stump, or a little tree here, was a Corotera bipinnata, and actually this guy can go and grow to be about 50 feet tall and about 40 feet wide. And directly above this guy are electrical power lines. So I was kind of getting tired of just cutting it back over and over again. I decided to take it out. Now, because if it's in an area like this, I figured that I would just dig it out. And so I'll show you how I do it. So I'll start off with showing you some of the tools that I plan on using. Just a little handsaw, just in case, you know, some of the roots that I can't get to with a cutting tool. A little like a root pruning tool. Not really, it's like a weeding tool. Also a cheap pair of loppers. You don't want to use a good pair because putting loppers in the dirt really kind of ruins them. Also having a round tip shovel. I like having a smaller shovel just in case, sometimes even a trowel depending on how tight the location is. And then Pulaski. This is a real good tool for this. It has a good axe side and another cutting side at a different angle. It's really good for cutting some of the roots. And you'll see how it works as we go. So I think I'm going to start away from the border edges. I'll start on this side and I'll see if I can dig down and go layer by layer taking some roots out. So to do that, you just get your shovel and you want to open it up. So what you're trying to do is clear your roots so you can get a good clean cut on it. Yeah. Probably not going to follow them very far back, but I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Sometimes it can be very time consuming. Let's see here. All right. Okay, so I want to get rid of this little cross member here. So for this one, it's kind of small, so I'll just get the lopper. Let's see if I can just cut it with the lopper. Cut it here, and then here. Now what that's going to do is just give me a little bit more room to dig. Okay. Might as well finish the other side of that one too. Hang on, let me. Here we go. So I'm getting underneath it. Now with the lopper. There it goes. Another cut. Boom. Right off. I better throw them that way. And now what I created is a pretty clear shot at this root right here. Okay. For this one, I'm going to use the Pulaski. So let me get it open. And I'll probably cut it about right here. All right. So with the Pulaski, I'll probably hit it right here. Now what I find is that if I cut it here, then what happens is when you try to cut this, if I cut there first and then I hit this, then the root just bounces. Since this is more solid, if I cut it here, it cuts pretty clean. Let me see. Pretty clean. Okay. Now when I get closer to the trunk, it's easy to cut. Now if I did that in the reverse, what happens is when I'm trying to cut that piece, it'll just bounce. So that's kind of frustrating, not too cool. Let's see here. Okay, I'll continue to dig. Got another root right here. And I'll do the same thing. I'll clear farther away, get closer. See, I could probably even just use a lopper for that guy. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, this one's a tiny one. Might not even need to do much. Not bad to give yourself some space. So if you got a small root and you can trace it a little, not too bad. Uncover here. And let me get a little closer to the trunk with that. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to keep on moving this way some. See what I can open up and clear. So even if they're not very big roots, they can hold a tree down pretty good. See, that's pretty solid right there. Big guy right here. It's like a V comes out with two roots into the ground. So I'll just get it up to this point. Take those out. Use the loppers here. There we go. I think what I'll do is I'll use a Pulaski closer to the trunk so I can get a little bit cleaner of a cut. Let me see. Actually, this is, there it goes. Feels like another one's coming up off of that one. Sometimes you got small roots that grow downward underneath the main root, and that little one can really hold a root in. Yeah. Something's holding it, right? Oh, here it is. Check this one out. Come around here now. There's a tiny little root underneath this guy. That little thing is really holding it solid. Simple enough. Just get the loppers and snip it. There it goes. So now I'll get the Pulaski and I'll hit it. Okay. Move over, Bob. All right. Okay, I'll get another one right here while I'm at it. So here's a little thing that sometimes when you already cut and some roots and then you lift, and then you'll lift and you'll get hooked on these little ones that you've already cut. Well, sometimes it pays to even cut those little guys out, so when you're digging, it doesn't get in your way. So, now when you're going to make your scoop, you're not going to fight yourself. You're going to lift it and throw it. All right, I've spent some time cleaning around this section and got some little roots. Actually, the bigger roots were on top, and I've only gotten some little ones down here, but I've made it wide enough so now I can dig. I've come around to this side over here, and now with the Pulaski, I'm gonna hack some of that out. Now I'll use this flat side here to hit some of the underneath ones. It's kind of nice for doing that. See, you can pop it out pretty easy. There you go. I'm gonna clean a little bit of this edge some more. Just a couple more light hits. Now you can see it's still super solid. I left it high for a handle, and I'm definitely gonna need it. Oh, so I found an irrigation line. So I'm gonna do my best to work around it. Now I know it's here. So, and even if I'm going to be pulling the stump out, if I start pulling it, there's a chance I'm going to break it. So, yeah, it's not a hard fix. It's a lateral line, so it's not under pressure. But all the same, I'll do my best not to break it. Now I know where it's at, so I'm going to try to stay away from it. And it goes to that irrigation head over there. Okay. All right. I've uncovered probably the biggest root of this tree so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Pulaski and cut it, remember, further away and then closer to the trunk. So here I go. There I go. Now I'm going to get closer to the trunk. All right. Well, see, that made a huge difference. That was probably one of the most, one of the roots that held it in probably the most. So I'm going to shake it a little, and I could see on this part over here, a little bit of hanging on. So I'm going to uncover a little, and then I'm going to probably pop it out. So I've uncovered a little bit more, just because I want to make sure. I really don't want to take out the irrigation head there. So I'm going to do a light chopping with the Pulaski and just make sure that I'm not going to hit the head. See, I only got a little bit, probably one little root underneath here. I could probably hit it with the flat part of the Pulaski and just knock it free. So that's what I'll do. I'm going to do it lightly. I'm not really going to throw full force. I'm just going to kind of tap. There it is. Yeah, so I guess the biggest part was that one large root that I took out. And what I'm going to do is I'll just take some of the soil out and then I'll toss it away. So as stump removals go, you can always get a stump grinder and grind a stump out. My idea for this video is more that if you were planning on digging a stump out, a lot of times I've seen people dig out stumps and boy, it takes them a long time. As you can see, it's not a very big stump, but it was really solid in the ground. Some of the concept that I wanted to talk about is when you're taking out a root, and it's say a pretty decent size root. Now remember that if you cut it here at the trunk and then you try to hit it with an axe over here, your axe will just bounce. It's more solid when it's into the ground. So you'd want to cut on the outer root first, and because it's so close to the main stem here, when you're hitting it with an axe or the Pulaski, it's not going to bounce. It's going to cut freely. That's something that's really important. A lot of times I've seen people cut everything here, and then all of this out here, they're trying to cut and their axe is just bouncing around. Remember that on some of these roots, you'll have a root that goes out, and then there's a tiny little root that's underneath a tiny, it's not a very big root, but you're finding that it's not going to move. So you can get the back part of the Pulaski here, if you have a root that's going in that direction and one going directly down. And when you hit it underneath, you can cut that root. That little small piece will come out freely. Remember when you're cutting around and making your trench, cut all those little things that are on the edge, because when you're digging with your shovel, you're going to empty your pile and it's going to frustrate you. It doesn't take much to get a pair of loppers and just clean it out a little bit. Yeah, having a fulcrum, leave your stump kind of high. If you're going to plan on digging it out, don't cut it very low, because what's going to happen, you won't have any kind of a thing that you can move. Sometimes you could even tie a rope and put it onto something, maybe it come along if it was a big stump. As you can see, if you go to where the root pile is over here, we really didn't take very many roots out. They're all pretty small. The biggest root was that main one, was probably this one here, and that made it pop out pretty freely. Lucky we didn't have a tap root. Yeah, so those are just kind of some of the concepts when I'm digging out a stump. Also, if you have irrigation lines, you want to make sure that you don't break them. I mean, they're easy repair, but just say it was a main line, that would be really something you'd want to pay attention to. That was digging out a stump by hand. Comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you like what we do. And by all means, share our video to people who like tree stuff. All right, take care. We'll see you next time.